Well, this is exciting, guys. I'm Twin Galaxies here. Obviously, our gaming histories go back very long. I'm 47, so that explains it.
This is my second host body.
Yeah, so there you go. We wanted to bring in Ken, who just had a book come out recently, Earthbound.
Yeah.
And there's Ken right there.
Oh, hey, Ken.
There you go.
Wow.
Better up, yeah.
Look at that.
So, Ken, give us a little background on the book. When did it come out? Is it a strategy guide on the history of the game? How would you describe it in terms of what it says about Earthbound?
Sure. The book came out not too long ago. I want to say 3 months or so.
Yeah.
And it arose out of a Kickstarter campaign that my buddy Gabe and I started. He essentially came up with the idea of doing there's a 33 1/3 is this series put out by Bloomsbury, and it's like one book about a classic album. One writer takes on an album of their choice, and he said, why doesn't that exist for video games?
Yeah.
And he sort of bet me to do it. He said, okay, I'll do it if you write the first book, and I said, sure. And pretty immediately I thought of Earthbound.
I used to own a laser show company a long time ago, and the first time I saw a laser, man, it did something to my brain that's not been able to be fixed. When you first played that game, did it just like resonate with you in some way that you just said, like, I'm going to make a book about this sometime? Or did that just grow gradually over time?
I think it grew gradually over time, but I remember, and part of the interest in the book for me was trying to actually answer that question and really like dig into my childhood and find out, try to like trace the threads in my adult life and see how many of them connected to Earthbound. And as it turns out, I mean, I feel like the game was a lot more formative than I would have thought it was before I had written this book. I think it had a lot to do with sort of the kind of art that I like to look at, the stuff I like to consume, the games I like to play, the stuff I like to make, and two, also just generally sort of like, I feel like it was really kind of fundamental part of my sense of humor. I mean, that game is so goofy, and to have like sat down and dedicated however many hours my brother and I dedicated to it when I was, 5, so just fresh, spongy brain with nothing in it, practically. I think
that's where we are right now.
Yeah,
so
wait
it's all
till you're in
good.
your 40s.
You're with good
way.
people. So
yeah, exactly. So I think that it probably had a similar effect than the laser did. It probably scarred me irreparably, but it's a good scar.
The game is something of an enigma because over the long haul, it's become recognized as one of the greatest games of all time. Initially, in at least in the United States, Mother 2 as it were, it didn't really resonate. The marketing, they put a fair amount of money behind it, but it never really quite hit until later on. Can you explain, or does your book really get into the aspects of how it was marketed and how it didn't do so well initially?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because that's fascinating to me too. And the most persuaded I've been about its marketing failure is the sort of material argument that it came out in a huge box.
Yeah.
And so it was often relegated to the bottom shelf because it literally just could not fit in the shelves that were at kid eye level. Yeah. And it did quite well in Japan. Sold 400,000 copies and was considered a success. But that's, I think, and the price tag. I mean, it was pricey, and it came with a strategy guide. And the strategy guide is an incredible document, so I'm so glad it did. But I really think that kind of killed its chances. I also talk a little bit too about sort of its timing, because I feel like I want to call it American booger culture. It was like that Nickelodeon, like GAC, like Slime the Parents culture that
Family Double Dare.
Yeah, we're all heading toward idiocracy. We know that.
Well, this was 20 years ago. Yeah,
I know. This might be the thing that started the transition to idiocracy.
Exactly, and so I feel like Earthbound sort of was like the wave had already crested, and so it was coming in, 95, and I felt like it was just a little late. But that, that's probably broad and cultural. Probably the real reason it didn't take off is just because the box was too damn big and it was expensive. But I'm so glad it has finally gotten the groundswell it deserves. And now, like my friend just told me the other day, he's like, yeah, I just downloaded it for my kid on my Wii, and he's 5 and he's going to play it now. And I was just astonished.
Here's the thing. We have our AI has a question, then Skype. If you guys have a question, we'll go to you and then we'll wrap up. But AI, our artificial intelligence, what would you like to ask, Ken?
It's more a statement than a question. Normally, I am programmed to hate all humans, especially these two. But I have to state that you are a very lovely human being, and as someone else who is a fan of Earthbound, this everything that you're talking about is amazing.
All right. Well,
So
when the
you can
robot,
put that on the back of your book if you
hey,
like.
Yeah.
when the robots take over, you'll be okay. Is
Yeah.
what it sounded like to me.
Yeah.
So Skype. Anybody in Skype have a question for our guest right now?
If you bought the game originally, what was your favorite scratch and sniff card?
Oh my God, that's a good question. I feel like the Carbon Dog. The Carbon Dog to me smelled exactly like barbecue Lay's, especially like when you ate a bunch of them and you got like the Lay's dust under your fingernails. Yeah. It's a little creepy, but I feel like Carbon Dog was the one I just like scratch it and like huff it, as if I was like a gas addict or something.
Yeah.
Ken, again, thank you so much for joining us. We got the link to the book up there. Put this graphic up one more time here if we could, AI. You're pretty active on Twitter, right? People can follow you along there. Are you pretty active?
Absolutely. At Ken Baumann. Twitter's a drug. I'm addicted.
There we go. Scratch
right.
and sniff, and now it's Twitter.
Well,
So.
follow us, and we'll give you the cure to that drug.
Yeah, no,
There.
that'll work. So, Ken, thank you so much
Subtle.
for joining us. The book, again, Earthbound, guys. Check it out. Cool stuff.
Yeah.
And get it on the site. Perfect. All right. Well, stuff and things. We're learning scratch and sniff. God, that takes me way back.
If I'm wrong, alright. All I do is stand and fight.
That's awesome.